Authentic conversations over dinner with Alicia and Aniyah.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Authentic Conversations Over Dinner. I'm your co-host Alicia, and I got my girl Aniyah on. And for this episode, we're going to be talking about working moms, just busy, 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 and how to balance family, work, entrepreneurship, all of that stuff. Okay, so stay tuned.
Hey guys, it's Aniyah. How you guys doing today? I'm going to talk about working moms, right? Many of us work, whether we work full-time, part-time, or we're taking off just to take care of our kids. It's a real struggle. It's a real struggle. And I know for me, I've been working since I had my first child, straight out of like after I got a couple of weeks off after I had delivered her, and then it was on and popping, right? Work, Lord have mercy, daycare expenses, all the things that go with, taking care of baby and working. I can definitely say throughout my career, it's been a struggle for me, trying to raise a family and still provide. And I know for a lot of us, I was married when I first had my children, but it didn't offer. We were, my ex-husband and I, we were both in our careers, starting out in our careers. So we didn't have time to, leave time to take off and provide that, extra leave time for me to stay home with my child. We also, and because we started out as new parents, we were young, we were 22, we didn't know anything, we were trying to figure it all out, right? I had my daughter when I was about 25. And so it took a lot going into teaching. Now we know teaching is a very difficult and one of the most stressful jobs there are. And so with that and having a family, it was how many times I wanted to quit, and I was like, where I'm going to go and how am I going to take care of my family, right? And constantly still trying to progress, move up, from teaching into another space that would give me more flexibility. It was difficult because for a long time, I was getting good at my craft, but I felt like I was neglecting certain things at home. And it was a lot of work that I was bringing home. And for you new teachers, you already know that there's always work to bring home. So when you have a family and you're trying to, balance the two, it becomes real difficult. As my kids continue to grow, they were like, Mom, you are never home, or when you're home, you're always working. And I'm like, I know, how am I going to do this? I have to leave teaching. I can't teach anymore. My third year teaching, I almost walked away, and I moved to a district that was paying more. Around that time, I had my son. He was just born. And so I had two kids, 2 years apart, and I decided to go for my master's. OMG. I'm going to tell you, I was like, after that, I was like, what was I doing? I was ready to leave teaching. And not only that, I was ready to get a divorce. Okay. So that impacted my relationship. It impacted my ability at my, motherhood. It impacted my work, in every way. And I was just trying to better myself. Right. But the struggle was real. Yes. Those were my early days. And I'm going to say that, right? Eventually, I continued. I was about to leave again 5 years after I continued on. I wound up getting an assistant principal and principalship. And I'm telling you, it didn't matter. It was still.
That's even more.
Yeah, it was because now I'm more responsible for the school. And I still have to balance my home and work life.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, I think I walked away from education or attempted to walk away from education like 3 or 4 times throughout my
Girl.
career.
Yes.
And I'm gonna tell you, this last time was like, I thought I was done. God keep bringing me back, and I don't know what it is. I know I have a passion for teaching. I have a passion for doing what's best for kids.
In the heart. Mm-hmm.
But it's really conflicting at times, because I had to learn that my home life is more important than my work life.
Exactly.
And if you don't understand that, it's going to drive you crazy. Okay. Trying to figure out how to balance the two, you cannot balance the two. You have to understand what the priority is.
Yeah.
It is your major focus. And then the work comes later. Now, if you don't have kids, you don't have children, and you're able to push more and your priority is getting ahead in your career, then so be it. But if you have family, know what your priorities are, stick to that. Know that the job will be there after you are gone. If you were to die today, that job, they're going to replace you tomorrow. So understanding that, it took me a long time to understand that. I understood it, and I was like, okay, this is what it is. Now I'm able to go into the job appreciative. I have a lot more experience, and it doesn't take me as long to get things done as it did when I first started. So I'm grateful for that.
Yes.
What about you?
You know, my story is very similar to yours as well, because I'm also a teacher. And I remember my first couple of years of teaching, I was super excited, you know, but I was also a brand new mother as well. So it was like everything happened at the same time. When I got my first full-time teaching position, I was a new mom. I was pregnant too, working. And then when I had my son, it became more of a task, because now I have him and I have teaching to balance. So I remember my first couple of years, my son was at a babysitter. He was, I think I started working again after having my son. He was only 2 months old. He was 2 months. And, he spent most of his time with the babysitter. And it really, really broke my heart. It was really tough, leaving my son with a babysitter all day and having to go to work. But I knew that I wanted to provide. I had to provide. I think that motherly instinct kicks in. It's like, I have to provide. I have to, take care of my son. I have to take care of myself. And so, honestly, I felt like I probably, I don't like to use the word neglected my son, but I probably wasn't spending as much time as I would now. If I were to have a child now, that my child would be a priority. But back then, I found that I was spending more time at work. I didn't really balance my time well. I was also bringing work home. I was lesson planning. You already know that. I was doing grades. I was, focused more on my students, making sure that I was prepared and ready for them, and then putting my family last. And I, like Aniyah, one day I had a breakdown, and I couldn't deal with it anymore. And I really did walk away. I walked away from education for a minute. I left it because I realized that I wasn't happy anymore, because I wasn't focused on what I needed to be focused on, which was my family, which was my son. And so when I left, it gave me time to really know myself and to get to know my family too, that time that I wasn't spending with them. And it was needed, but of course, education called my name. It was like, Alicia, we need you to come back. So eventually I did go back into education, but with a whole different perspective. I knew I'm not bringing work home, like my work stays here. When I go home, I'm focusing on my family. I'm focusing on myself. And so I learned how to balance myself. I learned that, and how to priorities, like Aniyah said, what is more important, work or family? Because if you die, they already got somebody ready to replace you. So I had to definitely prioritize and, know what was more important. I don't know what else to say.
No, I want to bring up something that you said, right? Yeah. You said you had to balance not only your family life, but also yourself. Like, we forget about ourselves when we're working moms. Like, we're so hell bent on, taking care, providing for our families. either moving up in you know, in the work structure, or taking care of our or trying to just better ourselves, right? You know, in or educationally, right? Some of us are going to school, but we forget about ourselves, right? We lose sight of us, and that was a huge thing, because not only did it impact you know, my relationships in school, because I didn't have time. I became so like agitated and frustrated, but when I came home, I was too tired to have sex with my husband. I was too tired to deal with the kids. They were getting on my nerves. I was like, I'm dealing with kids at school, and then I got to come home to my kids. That was stressful. And I wasn't taking the time to focus on me. And I was like, oh my God, you know, with education, like many other careers, you can negotiate your salary, whereas education, you're on this step ladder, right? So when I was able to get into administration, I was like, no, this is what works for me, you know. And I was able to not only negotiate my salary, but I was also able to negotiate my terms. Like, I'm going to work this, I'm going to work that. And I had to also let my staff know, like, look, this is what it is. These are the boundaries I'm setting, right? At this time, I'm going home. At this time, I'm doing this. Please don't call me when I'm off. Like, this is what I am. And we forget that we have the right to do that. And I feel like most teachers are so swamped that they don't realize their power. Like we are so, society expects us to do certain things, right? To give our all, to go above and beyond for other people's kids. And we leave our own needs in the background because we are so compelled to do what society says we should do. But no, this is a workplace. This is our employment. I provide a service and you compensate me for it. And guess what? I'm going to do what I supposed to do within those realms, and you are going to pay me for my services. Now they're able to tack on, you need to do other job duties as required, right? Because they're going to give you as much as they can give you for what they pay. However, we have to understand that, yes, that's what it says, but there are boundaries, and there is but so much I'm going to give for the compensation that you are the pay that you're compensating me for. And if you want me to do more, then you need to pay me more. Okay. And we lose that. All other jobs and careers are able to do that. We forget that we can too, right? You can give me a stipend. You can give me this. If not, then you can't ask me to do that.
I love how you brought up boundaries, because I think that was one of the things we talked about too when it comes to relationships. And we were talking more of romantic relationships, but you can also set boundaries in your career. You know, like my sis said, you know, you can let them know this is what that you're supposed to compensate me with, because every job has a job description. So if you guys are out there in the working world, there's a job description, and that's what you're supposed to be compensated for. But teaching, I can speak to teaching. Sometimes we wear so many different hats. I mean, people don't even know the hats that teachers wear. We are not just in the classroom teaching. We're the mother, we're the psychologist, we're the nurse.
And you know what? I want to say that's the thing. We don't have to put on those hats. Right. It's not required for us to do so. We do so because we give so willingly, but we're not supposed to. And we have to be careful about that. Because a lot of times when we go outside the realm of educators and we become the nurse and we become this and we become that, it becomes a problem, and now we're liable. So be careful with that. Careful with that.
I like to bring that up too. Yeah, be careful what you're taking on, because if something goes wrong, they're going to hold you accountable, right?
Absolutely.
And then your certification, your credential, all of that stuff is at risk. So we need to know our rights. You know, just know your rights, learn what you are able to do within that job description. And if they're requiring more, know how to speak up, know when to speak up. Don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. Don't be afraid to set those boundaries. Don't be afraid to speak up. And, that's what we can say, or what I can say to that.
Also have to learn what you are able to accept. And sometimes that may cause you to walk away and say that this is not for me, because we hold on to something for so long thinking that this is what we have, this is all we got, this is what we need to focus on. But if you realize the teacher shortage right now, you can go somewhere else. And I'm not saying, all places have their problems, right? Every school may have their own issues or whatever the case may be. However, you have to understand if your health or your well-being is at risk because your sanity is at risk because you are taking on more than you you expected to. I think you have to understand if this is the place is this the place for you? Can I go somewhere else? They say the grass is not greener on the other side. No, but it ain't green here either. So let me find out, can I start anew? And maybe can I water the grass where I'm going? Okay. Let me start. You just need that new, you need a new environment, right? And that new environment may give you some new motivation, some new inspiration. And then say, hey, can I start here? Can I set my boundaries here? Because obviously I tried to set my boundaries. It was too late for me to set my boundaries there because I didn't establish that in the beginning. But can I go somewhere new? Can I start to establish my boundaries? And can I water the grass here?
Amen. And don't be afraid to start over again, because I started over again. I started all over again at a brand new school. The school that I worked for previously, I felt like this is it for me. I can't see myself going anywhere. And I think it was more from a place of fear, being afraid to step out on faith. Right. But like Aniyah said, that was the best decision that I've ever made, just starting over somewhere else, because I felt it met more of my needs. It met more of what I wanted for myself, my boundaries. And I'm a lot happier where I am now. Not saying that I want to be here permanently either, because you can also outgrow places. You can gain everything that you need, the knowledge, the skill, right? Even the relationships, but sometimes you outgrow spaces and it's time for you to move on. So don't be afraid to move on. Okay.
Absolutely. I love it. I think for the most part, we just have to know where we are, right? Know, are we able to grow in this space? Is it giving us what we need? Are we able to set the boundaries that's needed? We have to have that time for ourselves. Self-care is real. Our families are our priorities, as a working mom, going back and just knowing what is important, and then saying, can I do this? Is this, is this feasible? Is it giving me the return that I need for my investment? Right? Because really that's what it is. It's an investment. Are you getting the return on your investment?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. My phone has a low battery.
Okay. So we're almost done, but I think that was really good. But I just want to say, for those of you, mothers that are working and that are having a difficult time, just know that there's someone you can lean on. Please do. Also just make a priority list, like what's needed, what's in front of you, what do you have to deal with, and then determine where you need to go. Is your job providing you the resources that you need to do the best job that you can do, but also allowing you the flexibility that you need to make sure your family is taken care of. So I think those things are really important. And once you figure it out, whether or not this is for you or whether you should leave or whatever decision you make. Is your choice. It's your choice. So I hope you make the best of it.
And don't be afraid to step out on faith, because if it's not working, don't be afraid to leave, because trust me, there is something better. All you got to do is step out on faith and believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us. Make sure you click on the like button. We would love for you to share our content with people who may need it. We also would love for you to subscribe to our channel to hear more information about what's going on. We hope to see you soon, guys. Thanks for sharing with us. Thanks for listening. We will see you soon. Thank you.
We will see you again. Authentic Conversations Over Dinner. Until next time.
Authentic Conversations Over Dinner with Alicia and